Good morning. Today what I wanted to do is just show you a quick video about how I go about arranging all of my readings and all of my notes. There's a lot to do in strategy, and the field of strategic management is growing all the time, so keeping on top of the theory is really, really important. It's important because you need to know what the arguments are, the theoretical arguments are inside the field. Because this trickles down to articles that then make their way out into professional practice, and often what we'll find is that strategists out in professional practice are using tools and theories and models without a really good understanding of what those tools, theories and models are set out to do. As a result, sometimes they misapply them, and when you misapply a particular tool, theory or a model in a situation, you can get unusual or, in worst case scenarios, very, very bad results. So today what I wanted to do is go right back and show you how I manage the volume of the reading that I have to do, and what I do when I get a particular article, and how I go about making sense of that article in a relatively short period of time. I use software called Papers to keep all of my PDFs in one spot. The beauty of Papers is that as well as having a big index of all of the papers that I've got, the papers are imported as PDF, and then they become entirely searchable as well. So even if I can't remember the name of the author or the name of the paper, if I can remember vaguely what it's about, I'll be able to find the information that I need. We'll do a search for one of the papers that I know I've got in here, and it's one of the required readings for you guys in the first few weeks. We're going to look for the title of it. It's Michael Porter's What is Strategy? There it is. And we'll double click on that and bring that paper up. We're doing on the highlights. So if we have a quick look, this is the paper. Make it a bit smaller, hey? So we can see what we're talking about. This is the paper, and you can see I've imported the paper as a PDF, and I can read it just here on screen. The advantage of this particular piece of software is that I don't need to have printed out, and I don't need to have white highlighter markers and post-it notes everywhere. What I can do is just read it on screen, and the beautiful thing is that I can then just select and highlight from inside the paper. So, for example, if I was to find this particular paragraph important, click select because it's all OCR'd, and then I can highlight that particular section, knowing that I want to go back and have a look at it later. So, what's my strategy? First up, look at the paper, look at it overall, and try and get a sense of what's inside the paper as quickly as possible. So I look for things like headings, because that gives me a clue as to what's going to be in the next section of the paper. So already I know that Porter's positioning himself to sort of say, well, being efficient is really important, but that's not what strategy is. And I can imagine that his argument would be that any advantage that you get over being efficient by having better manufacturing processes or better people processes, you might have an advantage at the start, but that would quickly be whittled away by other organisations as they copy those kinds of innovations and get the same kinds of efficiencies. So I go through the paper and I have a quick look and sort of see, is there anything that is going to trigger some sort of indication about what this article is going to be. So in the section 1, he talks about operational effectiveness not being enough. In section 2, he talks about, well, you need to have some unique activities in play. So not only being operationally effective is important, but not enough. You need to be able to do stuff that's different to what other people are doing. And we quickly go through the paper and have a quick look to sort of see what his argument's going to be in the main. The sustainable strategic position. So sustainable means over the long time, requires trade-offs. Oh, okay, so it looks like Porter might be saying something about operational efficiency is important, but you have to have unique activities, not the same as everybody else, but over the long term, you have to make some important decisions about what those activities are going to be and how they're going to work, those sorts of things. And so I do that for the whole paper, quick scan through just to get some sort of sense of what the paper is going to be about. Then I go back and I read it carefully. and I go through and I make notes on the way through, highlight sections that I think are important. So this is that one that I highlighted earlier. Talking about operational effectiveness and strategy are both essential to superior performance, which, after all, is the primary goal of any enterprise, but they work in very different ways. So let's say, for whatever reason that I think that's quite important, I'd make a note about that. So because it's software, I can do it straight onto the paper. If you're using the hard copy, chances are you would need to scribble in the margins or take notes somewhere else. Make a quick note. Operational effectiveness is all about doing things better and faster and more efficiently than yesterday. But this is very different from formulating and operating a defined strategy. Efficiency does not necessarily mean that you have a good strategy. All right, excellent. So I've made that note. I can come back in papers at any time and have a look at that note. And if I was to print that out, that note would also print out as well. The good thing about papers, and I should show you. Maybe I'll do a screencast some other time about all the bits and pieces about papers if you're interested. But the good thing about it is that it keeps a track of all of the notes that I've made. Oops, looks like I've made one in all caps here. This is that note I've just made. I can click down here, all of the notes that I've gone through, all the highlights that I've made, and if I click on it, it'll just take me straight to that section in the paper. The important bit about that is that I'll then print these notes out, and then I'll try and make connections. I'll read through what I've highlighted, I'll read through the comments that I've made on the way through, and try and make some sort of connection about what it is the porter's trying to say about exactly what is strategy. So that's a quick overview of how I go about doing this thing, how I go about doing the reading and keeping on top of everything. You'll need to find your own particular processes. Papers is one, doing it with hard copy is another one, but the thing that I can't stress enough is that you will need to do the reading, and that we will expect that you have done those readings when you come into the workshop. So please, if you haven't started doing the readings, do them now. Start doing them now, and make sure that you have a good understanding of what's in those readings, because your workshop facilitators will expect that you have done them, and that they'll be drawing on these readings inside your workshops in order to directly help you to be able to understand what you're doing with the Riddles Creek Landcare Group. All right, have a good day.